Guild Wars and Arena. We got ourselves the guild leader of Pwn, Graphic. Berk420, how we doing, sir?
Oh, it was good, childish. Good to be back. Technically speaking, though, I'm vice leader.
Oh, fail. There's the fail for the video. All right, then. So, coming back with a vengeance, my guild leader is here. No, fail. Oh, there it is. Okay, let's just do it all again. Just do it all. There it is. Okay, okay. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Childish. We're back at it again with another episode of Educate and Dominate, the one-on-one interview series where we take some of the top names of the game and get their insights so we can bring your game to the next level. My next guest has been before, and I'm super excited to have him back. Guardian 3 player on Guild Wars side and Arena side, Berk420. How we doing, sir?
It was good, childish. Good to be back.
All right, all right. It's always great to have you back, sir. For those that are new to the channel, welcome to the channel. If you haven't caught up on the Educate and Dominate series, be sure to check out episode 15. That was our first video with Berk, talking about a wide variety of stuff. Looking to come back with a lot of neat stuff today. We got some arena talk, raid talk, and Guild War talk, so be sure to check out the whole video if you haven't already. Yeah, buddy. All right. Gosh, where do we start off? I think we have to start off with the fact that you made a couple changes with regards to the guilds and whatnot. It looks like now you are the vice leader of Pornographic. So tell me about the guild, the new guild. What's going on with that?
Yeah, we've been around for a couple months now. Desi, the Decimator, is the guild leader. Me, him, Ipo, and our friend Lucy started it up together. And we got a great bunch of guys. You know, we're not ready to compete for a championship in Guild Wars yet, but we're consistently G3 in the top 10, top 20, depending on RNG. But we're getting there. But the important thing is, you know, we got a great bunch of guys. Our motto is no drama, no ego, and we're just having fun. We realize it's just a game. We're all getting better, and you know, we just like to talk theory and just kick it.
There you go. That's what it's all about, man. Just having fun. I think we can speak together on this one where we wouldn't be, we wouldn't be in the groups and whatnot if it wasn't today, like if it wasn't for like the close friends and group of people that just kind of keep us together.
Yeah,
The friends really, in my guild definitely just let me keep me in check. You know what I'm saying? Keep my sanity because when the RNG doesn't go your
exactly.
way, you're like, oh my god, I hate my life. But anyways, yeah, it's good to have you back, sir.
It's good to have family. Yeah, it's good to be back too.
Yeah, definitely. So, coming in now, we got ourselves a couple of things that have changed over the course of the time. You've been widely known as one of the people that have really pushed the limits when it comes to arena. So I kind of wanted to get into a little bit of that while showcasing your beastie units, as we so know here. First off, the arena meta. We've heard a little bit about the talk. We've heard a lot of talk about it lately. I think, if I remember correctly, you have always been really, really focused on the speed meta, even before it wasn't really too focused on speed, and now you've even more kind of into it. So, one of the things that helps you push yourself, really quick up into the top ranks is your infamous Lucian combo and whatnot. So,
Yeah.
I wanted to talk a little bit about that. I think on the first video, we actually had you right around 175 speed. With regards to your illusions, and now you push them up on to 120. So, before we get into the nitty gritty, could you take us back a minute for those that still haven't seen that first video? Take us back a little bit on just a brief synopsis of your Bernard Devolution combo and what you kind of have to do with the speed in an effort to make it that arena offense team as strong as it is today.
Sure, sure. Well, basically the gist of it is it's Bernard, Seek, and two Luciens. You get to Bernard as fast as possible, and in the last video I said you wanted everyone at least 70% of his speed. Since then I found 76% is probably a safer number. You're still gonna get faster Bernards and Chloe's cutting in, or not. I mean not faster, but or obviously faster ones are gonna cut in front of you, and the ones that are like a tick behind might still cut in. But the trick is one, if they're within 70 to 76% of Bernard, then when he tailwinds, they'll have a full ATB and they can go right away. And Seek will go next. He has to be directly in front of the Devolutions. He gives a 30% crit rate buff and an attack buff. And both Lucians have to also have at least 70% crit rate. So with the buff, they get 100. So they're guaranteed to crit with all 4 cards. You amp twice. And the important thing is they have to be close in speed. With the Tailwind and with the Lucians with enough speed, you make sure they all have to hit 100% ATB. That's another reason you want that speed, so that it ensures they go directly after another. And even then, there's always a chance that a unit with Nemesis and more speed than a second Lucian can cut in between the amps, because the first amp will take them will take them down and raise the ATB. And once the Nemesis unit hits full ATB, the way the ATB works is whoever has higher speed then has priority. So in order to prevent the Nemesis person from stealing the speed, the second Lucian has to be faster. So there's just all sorts of benefits to having speed on the Lucians as opposed to attack on slot 2.
Gotcha. Cool. And then, looking into the speed arena talk with regards to the Lucians, that this is kind of your bread and butter when it comes to climbing up on the AO. With regards to hitting that top rank at the end of the week with the reset and whatnot. But for what people should be focused on is the AO. There's still that aspect of the arena defense and what people should kind of do in that rush hour and whatnot. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about stall defenses in general, and then maybe kind of branch off into what you've been kind of thinking about, some contemplations of a variety of units that you've been looking to try out.
Yeah, well, the stall defense that are coming around now basically are a result of the shifting meta. The last time I did an interview with you, we were in the middle of a tanky meta.
Right.
Everyone is putting out beast monks, just trying to put a bunch of HP on their units, and the theory was, it was a war of attrition. You build your guys tanky enough to not go down, and then eventually they'll take the other team down. I mean, and these weren't tanky units just for the sake of being tanky. They were tanky, and they also hit hard. Like the HP crit damage, HP type units.
Right. Abuser type, yep.
Yeah. But nowadays, with the introduction of Galleon and Tiana, with Orion, with the fact that people simply have better runes nowadays from more months of farming and from the grindstones especially.
Yeah.
Now everyone has a lot more speed. Everyone has cleansers, and there's so many more combos out there that can easily tear through a tanky team. So it's gotten to the point where people aren't winning as much on AD like they used to.
Right.
And people are clearing AO faster. So in Arena, where like a few months ago, Barian was dominant because he had this AD that was so hard to clear, and it kept him afloat. Now, if you look at who's won Legend in the past couple months, there's a multitude of names because, it's just up in the air. Now it's about racing. Now it's about who can clear the fastest while getting hit the least. And so because of that, people have given up trying to win on AD and have just said, okay, if I can put a team that'll annoy the people enough where they won't want to hit me, they'll get hit less and win the race, because it's just a matter of plus and minus points.
Right.
So yeah, now people are putting out complete stall defenses. Rena is making a comeback. Maybe a year and a half ago, Rena was in full force. The last time we had a speed meta, and she's back for the same reason. I mean, it's not that people can't beat her; it's that it takes so long where they're not going to want to. And other stall defense include, still on the tanky mode, but instead of bruisers, like you said, you're going to see less HP crit damage, HP beast monks, and vagabonds, and you're going to see more, healers, straight up stall types, things like that. Ariel's making a comeback. There was a while ago, Ariel was regarded as inferior to Chasen, and people didn't want to use him in Arena anymore. But now they're starting to realize, oh, he's actually a great Lucian trap, among other things. All right. So what you mentioned the Lucian team earlier, and it's it's getting quite popular nowadays. I mean, not that it wasn't, but I know it's at least in global, the number is starting to increase.
Right.
And part of that is because of the whole Tiana Galleon combos. Because before everyone was able to load up on fire defenses to counter the Lucian teams, and now that there's more than one threat, they can't do that, and because they're too busy loading up on things to counter the Tiana Galleon teams, they're less focused on the Lucian teams. There's not as many fire tanks out there. There's more defense runes, and just in general, and so the Lucian teams are going wild.
Yep.
So in response, things like aerial, a really fast aerial on Nemesis will cut in between the Lucians. As long as the aerial is faster than the second Lucian, he can cut in and give everyone 30% and all the buffs, and completely throw the Lucian team off course. and before, it's funny, Chasen was the preferred healer, but I've noticed that Chasen's AI will pretty much always prefer to Fallen Blossoms. If she's below 50%, her AI is going to say, wait, I need to save myself. Let's Fallen Blossoms. And the problem with that is if you amp, unless there's some crazy fire tank that hasn't taken much damage, she's going to look around and find someone who doesn't have much more health than her, and it's not going to do anything. And unless she procs Vio and does her skill 2 heal right after, it's not going to do much.
Sure. Crazy, my man. So
But
I was kind of looking at some of these other units as well, and it kind of got me thinking. Since you've been up there for quite some time, obviously we don't need to dish out any names per se, but what, in your eyes, since you've seen so many compositions out there as far as these kind of stall types or whatnot, what has been one of the more struggling ones that that looked appealing to you, but then caught you off guard or whatever? What's been one of those combinations out there that was just like, wow, I couldn't believe it worked as well as it did?
all right, I have to give Forrest Knight a lot of credit.
My man.
He had this defense. I believe it was. I think he had Vanessa. Was it Sierra or Vanessa? I forgot. He had a speed lead, but he had a speed lead, Bernard, and then Praha and Eladriel.
Gotcha.
Now, for the longest time, I was able to double Lucian that guy easily. It was just okay, Forrest Knight, hit him, move on. And then one day it just stopped working.
Right.
And then, the Praha just kept cutting in really easily. And then, I mean, I'm sure he's got better runes now, but the Praha will cut in, and then he timed Eladriel perfectly to heal her. And it's the same units as before, but it's all about runes.
Right.
But one change that he did make was his Praha. I mean, normally Prahas are despair. They're fast and they're despair. Built like Varian's old Praha to go first and stun. But what he did is he made his Praha Will Nemesis Nemesis with the double Nemesis stat. So he he gained the ATB a lot faster and to cut right in, and it just. And that combined with the extra stats and timing, it just threw me off.
Right.
Um,
It's kind of crazy, actually. The combination of Shield, Wheel, and Nemesis that I'm seeing on not just some AO teams, but AD team is pretty crazy. I don't know how many times I've looked at a team and it's like, oh man, I'm gonna murder this team with my Lucians, and I get in there and like, oh, Shield, no big deal. Like generally, one set of Shield is not gonna do it, and you could have swore like they had like 4 sets of Shield runes between all the units. Like holy cow, like. They're like I was able to like the first user was able to take off the shield, but like they were all still like 85, 90% health. I'm like, wow, I just got gut checked there. I was like, what's going on with that? So
yeah, but to be honest, so I think Nemesis is probably the #1 rune set to counter. Well, obviously to counter the double lose teams, but also to counter some of these Tiana Galleon combos. One common thing that a lot of these combos have is they require 2 waves of hits. You know, I mean, okay, some of the combo teams will kill on the first hit with the help of Galleon and whatever DPS they have, but even some of the Tiana Galleon teams will require 2 AoE DPSers to, to make the kill. And with a Nemesis set on an AoE healer with enough speed, you can cut in and heal your entire team. And you don't even need something like Ariel to do that. Something like Bella, which anyone can access, can do the same thing. Everyone's Bella should have a lot of speed and Nemesis on defense if they don't have anything better to use. And that will easily trap a double Lucian team or a two-part combo or any other two-part combo team. And in general, Nemesis is great to have in your healers. Even for like raids and dungeons, because you know the way the AI works, it heals when you're under 50%, and coincidentally that's when Nemesis pretty much triggers, because you know when you take a lot of damage, it'll boost your ATB, and you get your turn when you're low in health. That basically ensures that every time your healer is low in health, assuming the rest of your team is also going to be low in health, everyone's going to get healed. So a Nemesis AoE healer is just great protection against all sorts of AoE damage.
Gotcha. And then last but not least, kind of touching back into that stall defense comp, we've seen a lot of arenas come back, as you stated before, but it seems like we got a lot of people focused on arenas, but there's still quite a few different unique and rare units out there that people don't use a lot, but definitely after some of these changes that are going to be coming on board with the balance and whatnot, they could be something that could be something of the source. So one of the ones that I see you dusted off here, getting ready to re-rune and
Yeah.
whatnot for the upcoming changes is Freya. So talk a little bit about this unit and what's your kind of game plan as far as maybe what kind of composition you want to play around with her.
Basically, the key to Freya is her passive. So with stall teams, typically, they clear your team with AoEs, and then everyone goes down. And what you do is you can either make Freya really squishy and have her die first and refill everyone, have to do the combo, similar to a Nemesis healer, but this is I guess a different form of protection. Once they kill her, she recovers everyone else. Or you can make her really fast or hit hard or some combination of the two and make her some sort of threat. I mean, this combined with her second skill, which is an AoE that'll hit everyone and reduce their ATB even more. And so she can get really annoying if you make her fast, and she becomes like this CC machine. And I mean, if you see a Freya and you know what she does, the option is to basically try to ignore her and kill everything else first, or to kill her first and to get rid of everyone. And the problem with making her too squishy is, okay, fine, they can just snipe her right away. But if you make her fast and annoying, she's a threat where she can go first, and then they have to bring something specific to deal with her.
Mm-hmm.
And once to do that, they have less to do with the rest of your stall team. Now, I was planning on pairing her with 2 Renas and an aerial lead. So the typical problem with Rena on defense is, like, let's say from my end, when I try to double loose them, a typical combo, whether it's double loose or any other Tiana Galleon combo, can bring them down pretty low. And from there, it's just a matter of, using a bunch of time to whittle down the remaining health that they have. But if you can use a Freya to boost them back up to full health after they've exhausted their resources, then they just have to waste a lot more time going back and whittling them down from full health instead of partial health. And that same theory holds true for not just Rena, but any other similar stall type. And not only is Freya good for that double Rena team I proposed, but it works with basically any team full of really tanky units. You just take, Camilla, for example, another unit that's been receiving some attention lately in the community for, her abilities to stall. Any number of these stall units, just a Freya that has speed will force them to deal with her first, and then once they deal with her, everyone else will be back to full health. And even though that's not a really good strategy to win the battle, it's a really good strategy to buy some time and basically make the opponent start over and it'll just buy another 30 seconds to a minute, and it adds to the stall team, you know.
Right. That's crazy, and I ain't gonna lie. Like I'm pretty darn impressed because if this doesn't make it clear to all the people that are listening, for all these unique units out there that people get, and they're like, oh my god, it's not the for this in this particular group at the time that it was popular, it's not the Acasis, right? It's not the one that is getting shined upon. So it's cool to see some units kind of come out of the ground and really get an opportunity to shine. Like I would have never thought in a million years to make it lower HP so that it's killed quicker so that it gets healed up. I mean that's legit. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so when I'm thinking about what you were talking about, having that fine line between making it speedy or making it less hit points, would you think that maybe if you're really really kind of almost like on that AO kind of Bernard setup, if you're really really focused on the speed and not really thinking about the HP all day, chances are a speed based kind of a unit is not going to be too tanky. I mean, we're
Yeah.
already sacrificing the 2 slot room for speed, but I guess
Yeah.
depending on what level you're at, I mean, you might have crazy HP substats or whatever on your units or whatnot. So,
I mean, at every level in this meta, speed is priority #1, and a lot of other stats are getting sacrificed. And you do make a good point. A lot of AOs are a lot squishier than they used to be.
yeah.
So, I mean, with Freya, what I would do is I wouldn't neglect attack. I would make her deal some damage. I would make her speedy. So if they try to ignore her, they'll see, okay, she's going to be annoying. And I'm not saying, okay, purposely make her squishy, but I wouldn't devote any stats to that. I would put all my resources into speed and some sort of attack. Accuracy, of course, accuracy.
Right.
And I know a Varian, the only other person who's actually trying for you, complained that his didn't work because his was too tanky.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
I mean, but yeah, you did make a good point. Now that all these offenses are squishier for those AO or for those defenses that are trying to get wins, or even for the stall ones that need to have some semblance of threat, so that the AO can't just bring complete nukes. It's a lot. It is nice to have just one guy who can deal the damage, you know.
Right.
Whether it's that one beast monk still. I mean, you're not going to have as many bruisers as in the past, but and that's another thing. I think Freya can do that.
Right. And since Freya fills it up with the full HP, you definitely want to have a pair with a unit that's going to be repping tons of HP. So, I guess the last question for that particular concept is if you're using kind of the bruiser kind of setup where generally we have units that are kind of HP crit damage HP trying to be tanky but trying to do damage. Do you feel that if you're really trying to make that kind of a stallish defense, really on point and taking advantage of the full HP, should you go triple HP or should it just kind of depend on
Yeah.
what the units in the runes go? Just
Yeah. If you're going with the stall AD, you go triple HP for the most part, because priority #1 is staying alive. And it's funny because people always ask, okay, what runes do I put on this? It really depends on the comp, because the same unit in an AD that wants to trap someone and kill them would have drastically different runes from as the same unit in an AD that wants to stall.
gotcha.
It really depends on the comp. And yes, in a stall comp, full HP or in some cases defense or resistant. I mean, I wouldn't put resistance on 6, but you want that from subs. But I'm saying, those are the stats you want. And yeah, for slot 4, more HP is usually better in the stall defenses.
Cool, right on. Anything else you want to add in that arena chat?
Not basically just be aware of the change in meta, and I guess for those who are using the double loose team, one of the things that I've changed recently is I don't always bring Seek anymore, or I don't always bring both Lucians now. A lot of the times because a lot of these other teams have speed leads now, where as opposed to HP leads from before, and now because a lot of these Bernards are getting faster due to the grindstones. And you have to bring a speed lead of your own sometimes. And one that I think is overlooked, a unit that's been overlooked in PvP in general, is Orochi.
Yeah, I knew you were going to, baby.
I saw you clicked on him.
Yeah. I see you.
that 30% speed lead with all win is huge. Now, I mentioned before for the Lucians, the minimum crit rate was 70% with Seek. Now, this is where going slightly over that helps, and this is where having less than 100 hurts. But going Orochi, Bernard, and Double Lucian, another lineup that requires no nat 5s. So a lot of people should have it. Your Bernard suddenly gains a lot more speed. Your Bernards are up to date or up to speed with him, so they can still go right after. And suddenly you're going right past all these 90%, 24% speed leads that you see. You know, a lot of popular ones are like Sierra or Tyrone. And the only faster speed leads out there are the 33% Vanessa and Trinities.
Right.
Mostly Vanessas. And 30% is pretty close. You basically just need like 3-4 more speed in your Bernard to compensate. It's a lot easier than because before in the old meta, I could just bring Bernard, Seek, Lucian, and I could just outspeed their Bernard. But now you know, if you look at a typical list, if they're not stall teams, they got speed leads, and you need those speed leads. And if it's not Orochi, like sometimes if you know their Bernard is comparable to yours, and all you need to do is match the speed. Or I mean, if their Bernard is slightly slower than yours, and all you need to do is match the speed lead, you know, that's when you can go. Okay, if they go 24, then you go with the 24. Or if they go 19, you go with the 19. Like if they go fire heavy, sometimes if they have a speed lead in the Chloe, and they're fire heavy, then you can't go full wind all the time because that's risky. Then if they have a Tyrone and that's 90%, you bring in your own Tyrone. And in that case, then you can replace one of the Lucians with a Seek. The only reason I go 2 Lucians is because if I go Orochi, Bernard, Lucian, Seek, then the Lucian goes before Seek due to the speed lead and doesn't get the buff.
Right.
And if you're going with Tyrone or some other speed lead, for my 24, I use Light Lich just because it's what I have. You can easily use Azaria or some other thing. But if you're going with that instead of the wind comp, one of the main reasons is probably because they're fire heavy, and that's another reason why you would want Seek in, you know, because he's so great at taking down the fire tanks. You know, before the debate was Seek or Wind Brownie, and now there's a third contender in the discussion. Water Horus does the same buff, now 1 turn less than Seek, but the attack and crit rate buff, and now a lot of people are asking, oh. Should I use Water Horus instead of Seek? I still like Seek because he's such a nuke, and you really want that nuke that can take down those fire tanks. Because you have the speed on him to go ahead of the fast Lucians, he's already gonna hit at least once after he does his buff against most teams. And with the second skill, he can pretty much take down the majority of the health of a fire tank, and it helps a lot. So, yeah, basically, to update the Lush team, 1, speed leads when necessary, Orochi's great, and 2, if you're not using Orochi, Seek is still great. I still prefer him over Wind Brownie, and I prefer him over Water Horus.
Sounds good, my man. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll be right back with the rifting segment here. Stay tuned. So here we go, guys. We're back once again. We have ourselves the rifting segment when it comes to the Educate and Dominate series. We have ourselves again Berk420 and of course Malfitch. Now Malfitch is not going to be on the call with us, but he's going to be just helping out with regards to the video. So my first question to you, Berk, is probably just going to be talking about the lead composition of these teams that you bring on when you come into the R5. You know, a lot of people make sure they kind of balance themselves between speed, hit point, defense, and resistance, but you've actually played around with a couple of different leads. In addition to, you played around with a couple of different units that are not typically the norm, so to speak. So I was wondering if you could talk about the speed or the leader skills in general, and then some of the units that have been kind of unique to you.
Sure. Well, the default setup for raids is resist, defense, and speed. Those are generally regarded as the 3 most useful lead skills. Resistance being the #1 priority because of all the stuns. I I rarely like to shy away from the resistance, and when I've tried from that, it's worked with limited success. But one thing I've noticed is when you have teams with enough tankiness, enough defense on the front line without the deep lead, when you have good enough healers on all three teams, you can run a double speed lead. I have my Fire Shark. He's not in right now, but he gives 3 debuffs and gives a fire speed lead, and you can stack an elemental lead skill with a global one. So like I could have brought him in and stacked him with your Jamar, and that would have been like almost a 50%, like a 40-something% speed lead for a combined speed lead skill for all fire units. And in raids, that's pretty much Colleen and Hua on many teams, because those are 2 great units for raids that are easily accessible. Colleen more than Hua. But especially when you get to R5, you're going to see a lot of these fast fire units, and and Elisa too in many teams. So if you can get a team that has at least 3 fire units on every team, has enough tankiness, and and 2 speed leads, one being the Fire Shark, you can stack those 2, and it goes so much faster. You get so much more ATB reduction on everyone because of the Huas. You get so many more debuffs because of the Colleens, and heals too. And one thing about having 3 Huas, I've noticed, if you have a Hua on every single team like we do now, it's a great help compared to just 1 or 2, because when you have debuffs like the heal block, they're placed on 3 individual heads. If you scroll your screen from left to right, sometimes you see the debuffs change in numbers between the heads.
Right.
And that's because everyone has their own bars. When you have 3 Huas, everyone's reducing it. Everyone's keeping the heal block on longer. Whereas if 1 heal block is removed from 1 head, even if it's on the other 2, the boss can still heal. But just having all these benefits really helps. And similarly, speed's not the only thing you can stack. I remember when raids first came out, and we didn't have our units properly ruined. We didn't know what was going on. We found that we could stack Delphoi's win lead with another global defense lead, and put our front lines with just nothing but win units. And even though those win units are somewhat squishy and had very little defense, just having a double win lead, or the double defense lead for the win units, made them so tanky, and we were able to clear the dungeons. And that's a solution that a lot of people can have, because a lot of people have Delphoi, and and a lot of people have win units in general that like Delphoi and Chasen that are already ruined, that they can just throw in front. And even though like Chasen, for example, will be ruined full HP or speed HP for PvP, but you want defense on her here. Now, not everyone has the luxury of having multiple root sets, or can just switch runes around on a whim. And for those people, it's nice to be able to just say, all right, well, I'm going to put Delphoi in, and then stack it with another defense lead, and then go. And if you have 3 teams that do that, then suddenly everyone sort of cheats and gets by with like double the benefit.
It's crazy. And speaking of some of these unique leads or whatnot, it's kind of cool, because I didn't even think about playing around with my Clara until you busted out your Eva. But it seems to be that if people don't have these top end resistance leaders, that they don't have to it's okay if they don't have a 41% resistance leader. They can still get by with bringing in somebody as unique as Eva, rocking over here this 30% resistance lead. So tell me a little bit about this unit. I mean, obviously it's in here for the resistance and whatnot. Have you seen any other people using Malfish saying it failed?
I got this.
Have you seen any other people using this? Or no. Other people using any kind of unique setups when it comes to, Nat 4s or different kinds of, or just Nat 4s in general that are rocking a different leader than normal?
I actually got the idea for Eva from your Guilty Flaw, because when we first started and we didn't have the right lead skills, we needed a resist lead. I guess we failed this.
It's all right. Keep going.
And oh man, he busted out Claire for her resist lead. And I thought that was genius. And I went through my storage. And I went to look to see what I had. And you know, just for emergencies when there is no one else. I had Eva, but she does absolutely nothing else. She gives no debuffs, uh, and once the buff kicks in, it'll probably kick in by the time this video is out. To be honest, um, she'll be obsolete because Brian and DS both had that 30% res lead.
Yeah. It was nice to see them add a couple of ones, but I didn't think they were going to give so many unique leader skills to so many of the units that are already kind of in there or whatever. So I was pretty surprised. So Berk, taking a look at some of the things that people have been focused on, progressing their way through R3 to R4 and R4 to R5 is the concept of damage, and everyone's about the speed. We've kind of been adapted to the fact when it comes to talking about other aspects of the game like Dragons B10 and Dragons B10 that once you get that consistent clear, then you work on your speed or whatnot. But it seems to be that things are still a little bit kind of going on the border of just making sure that the clears are consistent and that the debuffs and everything are on. So kind of talk a little bit about your thought process between, focusing on damage versus focusing on debuffs. What's your take on that?
I mean, first off, clearing the raids fast is still a priority once you're able to clear it. But that said, yeah, the debuffs are definitely a lot more important than damage. A lot of people are looking at the raids the wrong way, thinking, okay, I want to deal the most damage. People are bringing in Dios and trying to I guess it was to pad the meters, but Com recently changed that when they released the new ones that showed assists. But even then, when people build their teams, too often they're thinking, okay, who's going to deal the damage? And that should be the very last question.
Right.
When you build a raid team, the first thing you need is you need 5 debuffs at least. You need the 5 debuffs you see on your screen, actually. Attack break, defense break, heal block, glance, and slow. Now, ideally, you want units that can give those debuffs on all 3 teams. Sometimes 1 or 2 teams can go down, and as you saw, ideally, if one team goes down, the other 2 should be able to still maintain it and put those debuffs on. Or even if one team gets stunned, sometimes RNG happens. Not everyone's going to do their job, just for whatever reason. You want to be able to have those debuffs on every single team. If you're going into a raid and you don't have all the debuffs and you're saying, I'm going to depend on my teammates to put that up, either you have a well-planned group with someone who already agreed to do that, or you're being selfish. And even if you're splitting it, it's not the best idea because, again, one team could get stunned, one team could die. And if you're relying on one team to do your heal block or one team to do your attack down, and that team gets stunned or dies, then the whole run fails.
All right. So what? Yep.
And on the note of stuns, another thing you need on every team, you need either one immunity guy or someone who does something similar like Kona who can clear those debuffs.
Right.
Some teams will run 2, but at least 1. Some of the more popular ones are Delphoid, as we're using over here. I see Malf using Annabelle. That's not available to everyone. But some of the other ones are Kona is really popular, and a lot of people ask, okay, what's better, Kona or Delphoid? And there's pros and cons between the 2. Delphoid is tanky. She has high defense naturally, so you can put her in the front. And because the last requirement is you need a lot of defense in the front for that one move that deals more damage based on how little defense you have. So Delphoid is good for that, and she also gives a slow debuff, which is one of the 5 you need. Whereas Kona will clear the debuffs more quickly due to a quicker cooldown. And she doesn't put buffs up like Kona does. Because when you put the immunity buff up, or any other buff for that matter, what you're doing is you're actually feeding the boss. Because one of his move that removes the debuffs I'm sorry, removes the buffs also makes him stronger because it makes him heal more based on how many he removes. So if you have a team that's just flooding his team with buffs and then they get removed, that you're just increasing the risk of something going really bad. You know, the boss could heal up, and then by the time you catch up, his counter will be so high that you're not going to be able to take him down.
Right.
It's always, uh, I guess, less risky to have less buffs. That said, you know, Delphoy is still great because of her advantages, but that's the disadvantage with something like Veiloil. Um, he's actually not the most ideal for this because of the fact that he puts up the buffs, but he doesn't do much else. You know, he doesn't heal like the others do. He doesn't give any debuffs, and you know, units like that. I mean, use him if he's your only immunity, but he's not ideal. You want units that do more than one thing. That's one of the reasons I like my Fire Shark, who unfortunately we can't showcase right here. But he gives three debuffs. You know, you get that's why Colleen is good. She gives two debuffs and she can AOE heal. And when you have because you have all these roles that you need to fill. You know, and between immunity, five debuffs, you need to have AOE heals. You need to have tanks. You only have 6 units, so it's great when they can share the load, and it's also great when you have more than one unit sometimes that can do the same debuff. Like heal block is really important. Sometimes people will have Colleen and a DS like you see Malcolm over here, and that's because heal block, attack down. It, it's just really nice to have extra insurance. You know.
Sure. Sure. Definitely. Yeah, I like it. And so, kind of talking about the consistent clears with regards to the debuffs and moving more right onto that next stage with when you try to improve your speed and whatnot. I feel that there's certain units out there that are definitely starting to come out. People are starting to get it using more, and I feel like branding. Units that are branding are starting to be starting to kind of be part of the meta now as far as for the
Definitely.
people that are at that top end where they can consistently clear these hard levels and now are trying to improve this. So what's your take on what's your take on branding, and what are some of your favorite units that you like to use?
Branding is great. I don't have any units to have it myself. Uh, but I mean, all you need is one in the raid to have it. It's a nice little bonus. It's not one of the 5 required ones, but having that 6 debuff, having Brandon in addition to the death break makes the damage go so much faster.
Right.
Um, a lot of the newer units, and then some of the more obscure ones, like okay, no one really has this, but Cadis, Dark Vampire. Anyone who has that won the lottery as far as raids go,
Right.
because um, but yeah, Brandon is great. And on that note, you were talking about speed clears, and when you're trying to make the raid go faster, the way to do that is rarely to add more damage. If you throw in attack runes, yeah, you'll hit them a little harder. But the best thing to ensure a fast run and a consistently fast run is debuffs. You want to make sure that the heal block stays on because if he heals, you waste a lot of time.
Right.
And branding, like you said, if you get that on, it saves time. You make sure that death break is on the whole time. That's gonna save a lot more time than just having a DPS that deals a lot of damage. You know, if you don't have all 5 debuffs up at all times, then you shouldn't be worrying about damage. You should be worried about the debuffs.
Right on. And so, probably some of the more notable units that I wanted to kind of mention out there, for as far as the branding goes, I definitely feel that the Water Assassin is kind of a nice little unique dark horse that people are starting to use. And then we'll give a quick shout out to GGEXE from It Makes No Sense Guild, pointed out the Wind Barbaric King, which of course a lot of people were like, Barbaric King, those are so like, who uses that, right? No one,
It's for
no
the
one gets around to that,
branding.
but he has one of the best kits I've ever seen when it comes to branding. Such a low
Yeah.
cooldown time on that second skill, and then with that second skill, the ability to increase your attack bar, and then his third skill, when it's on cooldown, improves his personal attack speed. So he's constantly getting ways of manipulating his attack gauge so that he can get that skill up again. So as far as like consistent. Um, units out there that are bringing a branding kind of a kit, I feel like he definitely gets the job done. But as far as that goes, do you feel like there are any other units that you kind of want to mention if they don't have the branding per se? Any other ones just overall that you feel have an interesting kit that you kind of want to mention out there?
Not for branding specifically, but there's a few overlooked ones. Like everyone knows Fire Harpoon, and I mean some people already had access to her from Necro, but some of the other units that do similar things. Light Drunken Master gives the same debuffs, can heal, and can also deal some damage. And he's definitely worth looking into. Let's see. Colleen's sister, Saren Dark Harpoo. Varian was the one that actually first suggested it, and my guildie Desi actually built her and tried it out and cleared with her, or cleared R5 with her. But the first two skills are the same as Colleen, so she still gives the attack down, she still gives the heal block, but her third skill, instead of the AoE heal, it's this DPS move that gives death breaks. That's 3 debuffs. Now, on some teams, yeah, you're gonna need the AoE heals. I mean, on every team you need AoE heals, but on some teams you have so many AoE heals where it's like, okay, once taking this isn't the issue, you know, talking about speed clearing, adding that death break, you know, more consistently will help your run go faster if you can already stay alive without that last AoE heal.
Sure. Yeah, cool. All right. So let's see here. I'm trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to add here with regards to rifting. We definitely hit it up between a lot of our guests, including yourself. Any last words that you could, as far as giving just advice to some of the up and coming beginners and intermediate players that haven't had the opportunity to get to your level? Maybe some tips or tricks that you want to kind of throw out there along the way so they can improve their game.
Sure. I guess one thing that I really like to say is take all rune guides and tier lists with a grain of salt. I mean, every unit or almost any unit can be useful somewhere in some comp, and I cannot think of a single unit that can only be built one way. You know, everything has more than one use, and it really depends on the comp. You know, you can't just say, okay, this is the unit. How am I going to build it? You got to just figure out, all right, what am I going to do with this? Is it going in dragons? Is it going to be my farmer? Am I doing arena with this? And from there, you know, okay, who am I going to pair this unit with? What's its role going to be? And that should tell you what the runes are. And similarly, you know, whether or not something is useful to you. You know, I got plenty of things in my storage that other guys would be able to use, and I'm sure they got things in their storage that I would love to use, but it really depends on the comps. You know, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Now, like I mentioned in the last interview, my Dark Martial cat, it was basically regarded as junk in every tier list, and I found a use for it. Now, that use is starting to fade because the meta is shifting, but, you know, there's always those units that people regard as horrible. We mentioned Freya earlier. Freya was regarded as junk. People, you know, people would pull her and cuss.
Yeah.
But but really, it's all about roles and what you need. You know that a team of units regarded as mediocre, you know, it's any random 3 stars with cohesion can easily beat a 5-star team with comparable runes that has no synergy whatsoever. I see some people throw together like, okay, I pulled 4 5-stars. Let's just throw them all together. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
You know. And on that note, I mentioned it before. I just want to restate it. Don't focus too much on summons. You know, if you don't have the nat 5s, there's ways around it. There's common units that can get the job done. You know, don't burn all your crystal summoning preem packs. Just refill, farm some good runes. The units will come, and until then, there's plenty of farmable units that do good things. Like, okay, on my raid team right now, aside from Trine, I don't have any nat 5s, and Trine's only in because we needed a defense team.
Lead, right.
I would have had the Fire Shark in there if I had my choice.
Yeah.
But
Malphite just ruined it again. Won't let us have any fun. Shoot.
No, we've had comps that cleared R5 with literally 0 nat 5s. So people that complain, oh, I don't have the units for this. Okay, there's always ways around it. There's plenty of farmable units that do good things, and I'm sure if you just check the units that you're about to feed, there might be some gems in there. You know,
Okay.
the important thing for new players, especially with limited resources, don't regard everything as trash. Just because the end game player might say, "Oh, this unit is trash," he might have a well-tuned combo that outclasses it. You know, but you know, I've seen Scat feed a straight up unsummon a Julie on a stream, and yeah, he has no use for Julies. But someone who just started the game would love a Julie because she's
Yeah.
a great farmer for early to mid gamers, and she can deal some damage, even end game in the right comps. You know, now you're starting to see her, and it's just a matter of okay, look at what you have. Don't worry about the tier list. Just find some synergy.
Gotcha. Good deal. And so, with regards to the rifting in general, kind of closing it up here, I'd love to ask this people since we got a lot of people in the Come to Us community that are watching this down over there at headquarters and take a lot of our feedback, you know, to the people, to the devs to improve the game and whatnot. When it comes to rifting, if there was one thing to change, what would it be and why?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
Uh,
buddy.
you know, I'm actually a pretty big fan of Rifting the way it is. I have to commend them. They did a really good job of it. You know, I can't think of any complaints. I mean,
Yeah.
the one complaint I had was that it was a little hard for newer players to get into it, and it would just separate the rich and the poor even more. You know, you don't want that divide getting too big. But
Right.
with the last buff that's coming out, you know, they addressed that. They made a lot of units uh, better for it. They gave us a lot of lead skills. Like I mentioned, Brian and Diaz were both getting res leads. They they gave a lot of extra debuffs or chances for debuffs to a lot of underused units.
Hmm.
Uh, Light Salamander,
Oh
a couple
yeah.
guys. Shout out to again Barry and the Decimator. They both built him. He's getting a buff too. He's getting even better for raids. You know, there there's all these little 2-star and 3-star units that are so good and Comduus, I have to give them props. They're listening and they're making it better and they're giving tools that'll help the new players. So
Yeah.
you know I have nothing to say to Com about raids. Uh, good job. It's thanks for the bust. Or I mean, it won't affect the end game players as much, but the new players would really thank the buffs.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Cool. And so next one up, one of my favorite questions today, as you all know, I'm part of the Epic Fail community where we embrace the failures in and outside the game. So let's head it up. You give me one, and then I'll throw one in there to balance it all out.
All right. A recent one I did. Okay, actually, one thing it kind of goes in hand with one thing I'd like Com to change. Now that you bring it up, uh, I didn't realize that once you use a gem on a stat on one of your runes, it's permanent. Like I mean, okay, you can replace that gem, but the stat that you replace is gone. So on one of my Lucian runes, I had two subs. I had a 10% accuracy and 7% HP, and I overwrote the 7% HP. At the time, I was playing around with some stuff, and I wanted accuracy. I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna use him in raids. I really want the debuffs to hit, and I thought, okay, well, next time I get a gem, I'm gonna switch it over to the I'll cover up the accuracy rune in the long run. Then I can get back to HP, add an HP grindstone to it, you know, get more stats overall, and have a tankier unit. But apparently, once you do that, it's final, and you can't switch which sub you put a gem over.
Hmm.
So I basically slightly destroyed a good rune of mine. And Calm, if you're listening, raids are great, but could you please fix how the gemstones work and allow us to undo that?
Gotcha.
That's not too much to ask.
Not too much. Well, you've given us everything, count to us, but hey, that's what in
Let
there.
me fix
Shoot,
the rune I
hey,
broke.
shout out to all my Chow users. One time, give a little love for the Chows. You know what I'm saying? They're doing it big. They listen. Hashtag
Yeah.
they listen. Let's get it out there. But yeah, no, it's crazy, man. Yeah, definitely a big shout out to you guys for making the changes that we need to improve and enjoy the game. So Oh, I almost pressed the I almost pressed the sell button on that one. That would have been bad. But last but not least, let's get into that epic fail. I'm excited for it. Is that a fail? You just told me to fail. Oh shit. Okay, so now I got my fail. I got my fail. Okay, okay, okay. Let me hit it up. Uh, Gosh, where do we begin? My fail, despite all the ones that I guess we could just talk about the ones. So again, I was talking to Berk before we kind of got on board, doing some sound checks and whatnot before we get into this video. We had ourselves not one, not two, but three different intros to get going. It's weird, this is my 42nd episode, and for all of my people that have come on board listening, I can basically say five different names on one hand. With one hand, the people that I've basically butchered the intro. As you guys know, I just kind of let it fly, off the tongue. I don't sit here and write out this message for interview. So today happened to be one of those beautiful days that I screwed up not once, not twice, but I think even three times. Two in the intro and then one, in between and whatnot. So I'm sure you guys will catch a glimpse of that. I'm trying to think here. I don't have any specific ones in the game, but I have had some baby fails. For those that are familiar with my channel, I had a recent new baby boy here this last December, and of course,
Yes.
thank you, yeah, despite what I've learned and read and whatnot, obviously that things are, you gotta, just you learn to adapt or whatnot, and so I've had my own unique way of going about putting the what is it, the diaper on the baby. And the reason being is because as you guys know, if you got family out there, you generally got the partner. If the wife's going to be nursing, the guys try to do the other part, which is change the baby, whatnot, get it ready for the mom, the nurse, or whatnot. And so I like to be a little lazy when it comes to kind of preventing the young man Roman from peeing all over the place, and so I didn't listen to the feedback that people gave me, and so I say, hey, dude, you gotta, give it a second when you're undressing that thing because they're sensitive and they might have to use the rest. I'm like, ah, man, that ain't no nonsense, man. My son, he knows who's the man is. He ain't gonna sit there and try to pee on me. I was the one who made him now, okay? So I kid you not, this is January 27th. We're recording this 6 weeks after he's born. I have been peed on at least 33 to 35 times. And you think I would have learned after the second or third time, like, nah, man, nah, he's not gonna do it this time. I kid you not, it's such a fail, dude. I've been peed on in the face, on my hoodies, everywhere. My wall has gotten peed on so many times. Holy cow, dude! Like, daddy fail. It's not a baby fail, daddy fail, because he just got to go. When he got to go, you got to go. You know what I'm saying? So that's shout out to all my dads out there. One time, getting it in.
Sounds fun.
Learning from your mistakes. I haven't learned yet. I'm too stubborn to do that stuff, but I'm getting better. I'm getting better. I waited a little bit before changing it out real quick, but that's the only big fail that I got. More real life fails than ever within the game. Nothing too crazy going on, but other than that, I think that is pretty much it. So I want to give you an opportunity to throw a little shout out here. I know that you have your stream on board. We generally put all the information on the top right. But as far as the streaming goes right now, you've been doing it a little bit more consistently throughout the day. Why not? Do you have any specific times you're streaming lately, or is it just kind of when you got an opportunity to?
Nah, yeah. It's pretty much been whenever the hell I feel like it. So sometimes I do the early morning one, sometimes late at night. I figure if I ever get lucky enough to get a subscribe button, I'll get a little more professional, take it seriously, set some times. But until then, I'm just doing it for the love and to wag my EP.
Yeah.
And it's just whenever I'm bored at home and have free time, I'll just be on. I mean, I know it's not very convenient, but you know, you go ahead and follow me. Sneaky way to get people to follow me. Set an alert, and you'll get a notice when I'm on.
Cool. Sounds good. And big shout out again for taking the opportunity to come on board. We always appreciate it. Did you want to give out any shout outs to anyone in the community out there?
Well, thanks for having me here. And yeah. Well, shout outs to my guild first off. they're my family now. It's always how it is. It's always good to have that family behind you.
Yep.
Shout out to my old guild, Malicious. They're also still family. None but love for them. And they're everyone that I raid with. Thanks for all the help. You know, one thing I like about the raids is it brings people out. You know, we become more social,
Oh
and
yeah.
you know, having to meet new people and work with them and communicate, figure things out. And you can't do it alone. It takes three. Win or lose as a team. And thanks to everyone who I've ever raided with. Uh, it's great playing with y'all.
Good deal. All right, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. It's a pleasure to make these videos for you. As always, it's your boy Childish and Berk420 with ChildishPlays checking out. Take care, and we will see you next time, guys. We're out.
Peace, y'all.